Spoiler alert for Mushoku Tensei Volume 14. If you haven't read it, then I suggest you do so before continuing on to this video. After making progress on their teleportation project, Nanahoshi has decided to bring her friends to meet Perugius, one of the legendary figures of this world. But little do they know, he's not the only legendary figure that these people will meet. Hello everybody, this is the Anime Bro here, and welcome to another video. And today, I'll be reviewing Mushoku Tensei Volume 14. Now before this video starts, please like, share, and subscribe for more videos just like this, and come back next time as I talk about Volume 15. And now, let's begin the video. So the first thing I want to talk about is the story. Now Volume 14 has a great flow. It really does flow really well, and it actually does have great world building in it. Mostly in the one place that we visit, but you know, world building is world building. We get some ancient history. We also get to see like many different notable names in this volume. So it definitely has some great world building and some history to this place. Another good thing that I really do like about this volume is that Nanahoshi actually has some great moments. We get to know a bit more about her. We also get to know a bit of how she feels, and we also get some character development of her. Before, she was normally this outcast that didn't really care. She mostly hanged out around Rudeus, and we didn't really get to see much of her. But when we got to this volume, we get more of her, we get how she feels, we get even a very sad moment that happens, which I'll get into later, where it makes us care about her. So all in all, she has a great presence in this volume. Now, I will say though, in this volume, there are good moments, but there's not really like great moments, in my opinion. Like, let's go back to volume 13 for a bit. With volume 13, the main thing that was like the biggest thing that stuck out to me was Sora and Rudeus reuniting. That was the biggest importance in my opinion. And I do gotta say, it is something I will always remember about this volume. But volume 14, there's not really one that really sticks out. Every other moment is kind of good, but they're not really memorable in my mind. The only big thing I would say would be meeting Perugius, but even then, that's not really something, especially in this volume where you also meet another legendary figure. It kind of is downplayed in my eyes, but all in all, it was a good volume. Even though the moments may not be the best, they are some good moments in their own way. Hi everybody, this is the future anime bro, and I have to say that the moment part actually is not that right. I just remembered about the last moment, and that is definitely the biggest thing. So I just want to rephrase that. There's not that many great moments. There's one great moment, but there's nothing else that really does stick out. Everything else was good, but the final moment was definitely great. That's all I have to say. Sorry about that. Now let's continue on to the next part of this video. Alright, now let's get into some characters. So the first character I want to talk about is Salavara. Now Salavara is a servant of Perseus, and the first Skyfolk we actually met. So that's really interesting. Another really cool thing that we do know is that she knows who the man god is. It is someone that she actually is familiar with, and that is a big surprise because throughout all the volumes, many like immortal people actually don't know who this man is. And the fact that this person knows the person is a really big thing in this series. And one last final thing was that she was saved by Perugius, and that's why she is his servant. And that is kind of cool in its own way. And that's kind of all I have for her. Next, we got Atofi, the sister of Bedgi. Again, I don't know if I'm saying these names right, but I'm just saying them how I see them. So Afte is a berserker type. She really does get angry very easily and also likes fighting. So her temper with fighting is a very dangerous combo to have. And because of this berserker type, she loves to use force if she wants to get her way. So with all those three things, she is not a very good person to deal with. In fact, if she doesn't really get her way, she actually will try to kill you. She is that dead set on using force. But really, there's actually one interesting that I did find really cool about her, is that she is the founder of the North God style, which I think Eris is learning that throughout the side stories. So it's a really cool thing to see a connection between her and this woman. So that's something I kind of find interesting about her as a character. And that's kind of all I have about her. Next we got Kakisha. Again, if I'm saying these wrong, I am so sorry. I'm not really good with names. Anyways, she was actually last seen in Volume 4. Well, last seen with Rudeus in Volume 4. In fact, she gave Rudeus his demon eye. And of course, she is very poor. She does not have money and is in fact asking people to feed her or give her money and stuff. So she's the same person she's always been. But what mostly happens in this volume is that Cliff offers to help her and she gives Cliff a demon eye. I think it's the demon eye where it gives you the information of things. So he has that and it could help with curing Elena Lisa's curse. So that's good. She's on bad terms with Atof. And if I said that wrong again, I am so sorry. I am just not that good with names. But anyway, she's on bad terms with her because she stole a precious wine from her. And that is a no-go. And especially to a lady who loves using force and is very angry, that is not really good. And then finally, we got the main person of this volume, Perugius, which is pretty cool because he sounds like Perseus. And I wonder if there's actually some connection between that. But there could be not. It just could be a coincidence. Now, Perugius is known as the Armored Dragon God. And for those who don't know, the Armored Dragon God is actually used as the calendar system in this world. So he's really well known throughout the world if they're naming a calendar system after him. He was the one who sealed La Paz away with his comrade and is revered with everyone. There's not a single person, demon or even human or even like anyone out there alive that doesn't know this man. And another thing about him is that he really hates demons. In fact, before they were actually able to meet him, Roxy was not allowed to see him because he just really hates those demons. It's definitely because of the war, and it's understandable. And for a person who's lived 1,000 years and who's probably been isolated in his castle, it's kind of understandable that he would still have this hatred after so long. He is described to actually have silver hair and golden eyes. So that's a really cool thing that we get to learn about him. And the final thing, that's just a minor thing compared to the other stuff, is that he really likes architecture. And he actually had a good time with Xanabo, who really does like the design of things. And they were able to talk a while just to, talk about the thing that they both really love. And it kind of actually does make sense because the castle itself is pretty unique in terms of the structure it is. So it's understandable why he chose this place as his own. Alright, now let's talk about location. All in all, we've only had one location, and that is the Floating Fortress, the home of Perugius. Now, we actually do get to know a bit about this location, and it seems to be a really big one. In fact, it is 50 stories tall. That is pretty huge, especially during a medieval society. That is large. I mean, even now that's pretty big, but still for that time, it probably was way bigger than most people would have thought. And in this flying fortress, there is a garden that is really big, and it also has a canal called the Chaos Breaker. I totally forgotten why it was called that, but that is something interesting about this canal. It has a gate made from Absol Dragon King Maxwell, which I don't know, so I guess he's really well known as a crafter, and it's really big. Just let me know if I'm getting that right. It also has a throne room with emblems of Ashura and Milis nobles, which is really interesting. The basement has murals on it that depict a story. I totally forgot what that story is about. I'm very sorry if it was actually ever mentioned in this volume. And has a teleportation circle that could take him anywhere. Now that's a really interesting thing because it shows that he could literally be anywhere at any time because of this teleportation circle. And it also actually brings up a big factor of why Nanahoshi actually goes to him after doing this, because she is trying to go to her own world, but doesn't even know the first thing about teleportation. And with the help of this guy who could go anywhere in the world, it may be possible to send her back to her normal world. And that's all I have to say about this location. It's only one location, but hey, it's a really interesting one, and hopefully in the far future we get to explore more of this castle. Alright, now let's go into some moments. So the first moment that I want to talk about is Nanahoshi cries. Now this isn't really a big moment, but it is one of the rare times we actually do get to see an emotional side with Nanahoshi. So she actually starts crying because she was eating like a Japanese dish, and it kind of did bring up memories of her past where she used to eat this every day. And she really does miss it, and this is kind of like the example. As soon as she started eating the dish, she started crying, and it really does show how much she really misses her home. And I put this here because, like I said, this is one of the few times where we get to see an emotional side to Nanahoshi. It actually kind of makes you sympathize with her, because it is actually pretty understandable missing a home that you haven't been in a long time. And that is actually kind of very sad about her. Next, we got Nanahoshi's big outburst. Now, even though Nanahoshi and Rudeus come from different worlds, the biggest thing is that Nanahoshi was transported while Rudeus was actually reincarnated. Now, the difference between this is that Nanahoshi doesn't have mana, so she can't use magic in any way, while Rudeus does have mana and can use magic all he wants. But because of this, there's actually a problem with it. Even though she gets sick and she can be healed by healing magic, the problem is the mana, and when mana does a build up, it eventually starts having effect on the body. Now this is actually something that humans had a long time ago, like thousands of years ago, but because they eventually evolved to where they can learn magic, that problem kind of went away. But because Nanahoshi didn't go through this evolution, she actually is stuck with this disease. Now this actually all builds up to the outburst. So when she gets this disease, she actually starts talking about all the regrets in life, like the last time she actually talked with her father, the last time she actually interacted with all her friends, and she talks about everything she's regretted and all the biggest things she wanted to take back. And just like the previous moment, this is one of those rare times when Nanahoshi is actually being emotional and actually is being vulnerable to Rudeus. And I really do like the friendship between these two. It's a really good one because they really do understand what the other one is going through. That's kind of why I have this moment on here. The next moment that I have is revisiting Rikasa. I am sorry, I don't know how to say it again. I am very terrible with names, and there probably will be a lot more times where I am butchering these names. But anyways, this moment's here because Rudeus and Sparta go to Rikasha to look for Kikasha, because it turns out, like I said before, this disease was actually very common for thousands of years. So what they need to do is look for someone who's been around for that long and can actually give them information. And while Rudeus is going there, he actually gets to see many different changes. Now there was actually a reason why I didn't have this place on the locations, and it's simply put because it's mostly just the same location. The only difference is that Atuf guards are here patrolling the area looking for her, so that's kind of the only difference. But really, I put this here just to see the differences that this place has gone through since the last time Rudeus went through here. Next moment that we got is Tea Party with Perugius. Now, one of the people that was actually able to visit Perugius was Princess Ariel. And one thing that she's here to do is mostly win favor with Perugius. Now, like I said before, Perugius is revered by everyone. There is no one in the world that doesn't know this man. He is very well known, and like I said before, they've named the calendar system after him and after what he did. So he is a well-known person to everyone's eyes. And Ariel's actually trying her best to actually win him over, saying, you know, you get this prestigious title if you support me, and all these things that humans want when you want their support. But Perugius actually doesn't want that. He doesn't want to get involved with politics and stuff. So he basically asks her a simple question. What makes a good king? And I don't remember if Ariel does give an answer, but at the moment she doesn't know what he's trying to do. She's very confused. She is thinking about it. And throughout the future volumes, just getting ahead of myself here, this actually becomes next arc to help her actually become a queen. And it's a really good arc that is probably one of my favorites in this series. And I kind of put this here mostly because it's a good Ariel moment, but also because it builds up to something bigger down the line, in my opinion. Next, we got the man god talks with Rudeus. So after their visit with Perugius, Rudeus and the man god actually talk with each other. Rudeus asks what would have happened if he would have stayed, saying that the only difference is, well, his second wife would have been someone else, and Paul would have actually lived from this bout. And it's kind of sad because it kind of puts it in a way that there was a possibility that no one had to die. And that would have been really interesting to see. But because Rudeus decided on his own thing, Paul died. Mostly because Paul was trying to impress Rudeus, and that did cause him his death, but all in all, Rudeus didn't really regret the decisions. It happened, he's moving on. And also before their talk ended, Rudeus actually asks the man god if there's anything he wants him to do. And he just tells him the simple thing, just go down in the basement and just check out what's going on there. And then this actually leads up to the biggest moment in this volume. And it is huge. And that is future Rudeus appears. Now, when Rudeus was about to check the basement, an older self shows him. And to prove that he is him from the future, his old self actually tells him the name of Rudeus. Not Rudeus Greyrat, but the previous life he used to live. It was there that he learned that it was truly him. Now, the biggest shock and the biggest thing that we now know is that the man god is actually evil. He was helping Rudeus now to earn his trust to a point where eventually he would let his guard down. And when he did, it would have ended badly. Now, sadly, Rudeus does not read this journal until the next volume, but he finally knows who the man god is. He's not someone to be trusted with. No, he's someone who actually is a bad person and is leading the world to doom. And eventually in the next volume you get to learn what happens, but mostly in this moment the future Rudeus tells Rudeus that he needs to find a way to stop him. If he does not stop him, then the worst possible future will happen for Rudeus. And the reason why I put this here is because we can start off like this happy thing. Yeah, Nanahoshi gets sick, but she turns out alright. Yeah, they run away from somebody, but it turns out alright. But now it turns into a really big situation where if you don't stop this man, it is doomed for everyone, and you need to do that. And this is kind of why I really do like this moment. It puts up an urgency, and it puts an importance that Rudeus needs to do now. Instead of just living his life, this now has become top priority for himself. Alright, now let's finish this video off. So if I were to rank this volume, I would rank it a B. It has a great flow to it, and I could see where everything kind of connects to one way. Also, the great moment at the end was a really good one, and we got some great world building. I always love world building. Everyone should know this by now. So it got that on it, and I'm really happy about that. Well, the reason why it's actually not an A is because, well, it's kind of everywhere. There's a lot of things that happen in this volume. One minute you're exploring a castle, next minute you're revisiting something to get something. Then you go in and talk about politics. There's a lot of things that happen in this episode. And even though some people may like that, I prefer, a constant thing where, simply put, you're just doing one thing. That's kind of why I don't like some of the slice and life things, because it does get boring where one moment you're talking with people, next moment you're doing something else. It's not really something I really do enjoy. I prefer, something that is the same throughout the volume. But like I said before, the one thing I do really put in high hopes is actually the character development, Nanahoshi. She's definitely a character that's become really interesting, and this volume really did help her That's kind of why it's above some volumes. And also another thing is that it kind of does put some stones into the next half of Rudeus' adventure. Mostly because of the final moment, because afterwards, Rudeus' sole focus is trying to defeat the man god. Trying to foil the man god's plans by making it a future where the man god will definitely not win. And so far, while I'm reading this, it is something that does become very interesting in my opinion, and definitely starts making the story a really good one in my eyes. And I could begin to see where a lot of people say it is their favorite isekai. Not saying the previous half was bad, but it's just this half afterwards actually starts becoming a lot more interesting. And I could say it kind of does start off with this volume. So I really do say that this volume is a really good volume. Alright, and that is the end of this video. If you really enjoyed it, please like, share, and subscribe for more videos just like this. And come back next time as I talk about Volume 15. Rudeus finally knows the man god is evil, and he now needs to find a way to stop him. And as always, I am the Anime Bro. Have a wonderful day, and enjoy your life, and see you guys later. Peace!